Recording in progress.
Okay, so just checking in with the body, having a bit of a move, a wiggle of the spine, of the shoulders. Maybe you've been sitting quite a bit all day. Helps me to get into posture, maybe rolling the shoulders back a couple of times, lengthening the back of the neck, relax downward gaze, a sense of the body connecting with the surfaces beneath and grounded. Taking a few deeper breaths if it helps you to settle. And as you breathe out, just letting go. Letting go physically, letting go emotionally, and then allowing the breathing to return to its natural rhythm, simply being here now. Okay, so it's good to see you all here this afternoon. I hope you're having a wonderful day with the different practice sessions and teachings that we're sharing over this membership weekend. And this is a little taster of a course Jacky and I run called Living Well to Die Well, which does exactly what it says on the tin. It's about creating the conditions in our lives now so that we live as fully as we can. And so then when we come to the point where we're getting old and moving towards dying, that process becomes easier because we've lived well with and created the conditions for a happy life, which necessarily results in the causes and conditions for a more happy, peaceful death. And the area that I'm going to look at for the first half of the session is living without regret. And then I'm going to hand over to Jacky for the second half of the session. So living without regret. So that can be, if we have a lot of regrets, it can be a big obstacle to a peaceful death. So it's a good idea to reflect and to be clear about anything that we do regret, so that we can resolve that before we get to the end of our lives. And it's interesting that the regrets that affect people most at the end of their lives are not so much the things that they've done, but the things that they wish they had done. So the things that they didn't do, the kind of aspirations that they didn't fulfill, are often the ones that linger more with people at the end of their lives. So I'm just going to share a little slide with you here about what people regret most when they die. So when talking to people who are at the end of their lives, these are some of the things that they most regret, the common themes that arise. So some people regret that they'd taken their education and career more seriously and worked harder. But on the other hand, some people at the end of their life wish that they hadn't worked quite so hard. So don't know whether either of those resonate with you. Some people wish that they'd been more authentic to themselves and had the courage to live a life where they felt true to themselves, living their values. Just let someone else in. Some people regret that they hadn't been more assertive, that they maybe hadn't had more ability to say no, to hold boundaries. Some people wish that they'd had the courage to express their feelings more. Some people wish they'd taken more risks, maybe been a bit more spontaneous. Some people wish that they'd spent more time with friends and family or stayed in touch with friends and family. Some people wish that they'd been, more spontaneous and seized the moment a bit more, which is maybe a bit like connected to taking more risks. And some people wish they'd pursued their interests and hobbies a bit more. And then some people really wish that they'd let themselves be happier. And this is what we're going to explore in this session. How do we let ourselves be happier in our lives? Because sometimes there are obstacles, and they can be self-imposed obstacles that somehow we're really not allowed to be as happy as we possibly could be. Maybe we think it's a bit selfish, perhaps. But the happier we are, the more resourced we are to be of use to those around us. So I'm just going to guide a reflection practice now, unless anyone has any questions or reflections before we move into the practice. Okay. So here we go. So again, taking a moment to place the body in posture. Feeling the feet on the ground. Maybe moving our focus up the spine, honouring the curves of the spine as we lengthen the spine, lengthening the back of the neck, lifting the crown away from the hips, rolling the shoulders up and then back, and then easing the shoulder blades down the back. Having a relaxed downward gaze if you can, but it's also okay to close the eyes if you need to. Now, our intention for this practice is an intention of reflection. So we will drop a question into the mind without making any effort to answer that question, trusting a deeper wisdom to emerge, so that any responses to the question arise of their own accord. An intention to be open and curious and kind to ourselves. And then connecting with your motivation. So how might we benefit from living with less regret? How might we benefit from allowing ourselves to be happier? And if we're happier, how might that go on to benefit those around us? And then allowing our intention and motivation to fall into the back of the mind, trusting that it's there to guide us through the practice. And becoming curious about how the breathing feels, coming and going through the body. And if it helps the mind to settle, you can choose to breathe in a little deeper, breathe out a little longer, seeing if we can make the in-breath and the out-breath a similar length, maybe using phrases. So as you breathe in, saying to ourselves, this is an in-breath, and as we breathe out, saying to ourselves, this is an out-breath. And as you do this, you might notice all kinds of activity happening in the mind. It's really not a problem. Just allowing that activity to unfold itself and choosing to focus on regulating the breathing with the phrases, this is an in-breath, this is an out-breath. And now for the next few breaths, as you breathe out, releasing, relaxing, letting go. And seeing if the mind can learn from the body. So just as the body releases the out-breath, seeing if the mind can release involvement with thoughts, so that thoughts are allowed to move freely through the mind, just as the breath moves freely through the body. And now letting go of any phrases, letting go of any control of the breath, so that we simply allow the breathing to rest back into its natural rhythm. Becoming curious about physical sensations happening in the body. So not thinking about the sensations, but directly sensing them as tinglings or sparklings or intensities or textures. So feeling the hands where they're resting, feeling the feet where they're resting, and then from the feet gradually opening up to become aware of the whole of the body. Allowing the whole body to rest, unconditionally supported by the ground, surrounded by space. Again, seeing if the mind can learn from the body. So just as we can rest the body in this way, allowing the mind to rest, unconditionally supported in the body, with absolutely nothing to do. And then any time we notice we've become distracted, just curious, where has the mind wandered to this time? And then gently coming back to being present, taking our time to patiently ground in the body, connect with the coming and going breathing, and then opening out from the breathing body to become aware of our whole experience as it is in this moment. And then moving into our reflection. And our question is, how can I let myself be happier? How can I let myself be happier? And if we find ourselves thinking about the questions or thinking about something else, no problem, just curious. Where did the mind wander this time? And then gently coming back, grounding, lightly focused on breathing, opening up to our whole experience with kindly curiosity. As we drop our question in for the third time, this time allowing it to sink a little deeper, to connect with our hearts. How can I let myself be happier? And then letting go of the questions and being with our experience as it is now. And sometimes these kind of questions can lead to some uncomfortable feelings or challenging thoughts or memories. And if that's the case, we can offer ourselves some compassion, or either way, we can offer ourselves some compassion, making a gesture of self soothing, maybe hand on the heart or holding our own hand, whatever feels okay. And as we breathe out, saying to ourselves, soften. Softening around any hard edges of our experience, relaxing around any physical contractions. Soften. Soften. Soothing ourselves with a touch, with a soothing voice tone as we say to ourselves, soothe, soothe, soothe. And reminding ourselves that we're not doing this to fix anything or change anything. Our intention is to simply allow, allow, allow. And then if we're making our gesture of self-soothing, you can release that, placing the hands back down in posture, curious about whatever's happening now.
And I think Heather led into this part quite nicely, which is about taking in the good and looking for the good things in life. Some of you would have already done some, if you were in our practice session earlier, you would have done this practice. But according to Rick Hanson, you can't do it enough, really, taking in the good. And this is because the brain or the mind has a tendency to focus on what's wrong. So say you've been through your day and there's been some good things that have happened, and then there've been a few really irritating things that you don't like. Who sits in the evening and thinks about the things that went wrong? Yeah. So Rick Hanson has done a lot of work in this. He did a study 5 years ago and said that we need to learn to live from our positive experiences, because we have a tendency to dwell on what's wrong rather than what's right. And so we bring this into our living well. This is part of our living well, because every moment of our life is so precious and good things happen, and yet we just kind of let them pass by. So the taking in the good practice, and Rick Hanson's written a book about hardwiring happiness. He said we're kind of not designed to be happy, we're designed to survive. But we can rewire the brain a little. So if we notice that we're dwelling on the negative, we go, hey, wait a minute, that the sunshine was lovely today, or those flowers were nice, or those puppies were lovely, or something. And we can take those moments and allow them to turn into good experiences. So they're not fleeting moments. We take a moment to allow it to grow and build in us. And this, Rick Hanson says, rewires our brain for happiness. Okay. So I think with our mindfulness, we notice when we're sliding down into the what's wrong. And we've talked a little bit about it now. And I think some of you have noticed, actually, no, there's some good things too. And I don't want to regret a moment of my life. So when all these good things happen, because they do, and it doesn't have to be a big thing, it can be quite small, then we can start turning things around and make life a little bit richer. So that's kind of a little bit what the course is about, allowing ourselves to cultivate some joy in our lives. And these can be from the smallest things, like enjoying your morning cup of coffee, or the spring flowers, the sunshine today, the blue sky. And it might be just that moment. And I think you might notice a little smile, and an inner smile comes. I know it happens when I hear Heather's puppies. A little smile inside, and that there's a feeling that goes with that feels good. So that's what we're talking about, those little moments. And rather than allowing them to be fleeting, allow them to grow within us. And we can do this in a practice sitting here, just bringing to mind something that recently made us feel good. Or we can take it into daily life. And when we see a little bird, or we see the sun, or those little moments, or the snowdrops, whatever it is, we just pause with it. So it's a bit like making a lovely meal, your favorite meal in front of you, or you go to a restaurant, you've got your favorite meal, and you just gobble through it, or you just pass it by. This is about savoring every moment of that meal because you enjoy it. And it's a bit like taking it in, or taking in the warmth from a fire that you spent all this time building and blowing on the embers, and it bursts into flames. Actually not walking away, but pausing to allow it to warm us up. Okay, so that's what taking in the good is all about. Rick Hanson says we should do it 6 times a day at least, and it doesn't take long. So it can be a thought, or it can be something in daily life, just pausing to really notice, and then noticing when the mind is sliding off into what's wrong. And actually there's a lot right as well. it's not all wrong. So that's the practice that we're going to do. So I invite you to make yourself comfy, and if you want to lie down, you can lie down. If you want to just sit in posture, whatever your body feels like. We're at the end of the day now, so just noticing how your body feels. And yeah, and also maybe this practice, if you did it several times during the day, perhaps in the evening before you go to sleep, you could perhaps bring to mind things that you're grateful for, just little things, some similar sort of things. So I'll just open it over to you. So let's find a posture we want to practice in. So taking a moment to take a few deep breaths and getting this sense of landing here in this space, in this body. As we feel that support of the ground holding this body. And paying some attention to the feel of the body, maybe easing through any areas of tightness by rolling the shoulders, easing the neck, softening through the face and the jaw and the front of the body. And our intention for this practice is to find a little moment of joy, something that's made us smile, and allow it to absorb into our being. And let's bring to mind our motivation as to why we might like to do this, why it's going to be beneficial for us to spend some time focusing on what's right and good. So beginning the practice in our usual way as we settle. So finding the breath, moving somewhere in your body. Curious about how your body is just breathing itself. And maybe we can feel just a spark of gratitude that here the body is breathing itself. Noticing the rhythm and the flow, the movement of your body as your body breathes. Noticing what that's like. To notice your body breathing itself. And then gradually beginning to draw the breath a little deeper into the body. As we breathe in a little deeper. And then breathe out a little longer. So we find ourselves adjusting the in-breath and the out-breath to become the same length. And breathing the body for a while. And to help us do this, we might like to introduce some counting. So breathing in for a count of 3 or 4 and out for the same length. Whatever's comfortable for your body. And if we prefer, we could say phrases, something like, I can feel my body breathing in. I can feel my body breathing out. Noticing how it feels to breathe the body. And if you notice the mind going for a little wander somewhere that isn't here now, present in this moment, gently, gently guiding it back to the feel of the breath, or the counting, or the phrases, with the gentleness and kindness, as if we were training a puppy to stay. Noticing how it feels to breathe the body. Noticing how it feels as we let that go, and that transition that happens as the body begins to breathe itself once more. With an awareness of the rhythm and flow of your natural breath. And as we move towards grounding, just feeling the sensations present in your body right now. Seeing if we can be open and allowing to allow ourselves to feel what we feel. No right or wrong way to feel. And as we invite the body now to rest, with the unconditional support of the earth beneath us, inviting the mind to rest a while with the unconditional support of the body. And you might like to introduce a support for your practice that helps you stay in this moment. That might be the feel of the breath, the feel of the body, or sounds that happen to be around us. So finding that gentle support for your practice and resting a light attention as we rest. And I invite you now to bring to mind a moment that's recently happened that has made you smile or feel a little spark of joy or happiness. And this doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be simply enjoying your morning cup of coffee, the feel of sunshine, birds singing, a message from a friend, a smile from someone else. Doesn't have to be big, but just allowing your mind to invite a small moment in that's made you smile or feel a little spark of joy. And if nothing comes, there's nothing wrong. Just opening to the suggestion and allowing your experience to be just as it is. But if you're finding a little memory coming in, noticing how you felt at the time, did you notice the feel of a smile, an inner smile, or a smile beginning to reach your face? Or a moment where there was a spark of joy that you felt somewhere in your being? And rather than let this moment just pass, let's see how it feels to imagine we're breathing into this feeling of joy. And as we breathe into it, it's like blowing on the embers of a fire and it becomes brighter and stronger. And as we breathe out, imagine it begins to fill the body. So allowing this to manifest in any way, in its own way, personal to you. So it could be like a light or just a feeling of energy, or like a soothing balm beginning to fill the body, reaching every cell of the body as if all our cells are smiling too. So breathing into this feeling, this moment of joy or a smile, allowing it to grow brighter. And then as we breathe out, allowing it to fill the body. And noticing how it feels as we do this. If at any time there's any obstacles or resistance to the practice, it's okay. Just coming to rest with your support. And as we've allowed this feeling to grow and brighten in our being, filling us up, like taking in the warmth of the fire as we've lit the fire, we've allowed it to burn brighter, and now we're just sitting back, allowing us to bathe in the warmth of the fire. So allowing ourselves to bathe in this feeling as it saturates our whole being, filling every cell of the body, soothing our emotions, soothing our whole being. As we allow this little event, this fleeting moment of joy or a smile, to begin to turn into an experience that feels good. Noticing how it feels to rest a while here, filled up with the feeling of a moment of joy, as we allow ourselves to savor and bathe in this feeling. What's it like to allow ourselves to rest with the feeling of joy or a smile? And how is it to allow it to overflow, so we're able to share it with others? So imagine this flow going out from you to everyone else here as we've shared this space together. Sharing our smile and moment of joy with everyone here. Also noticing how it feels to open to receive the smiles and moments of joy from others. Just taking a moment to rest in this flow of joy. And then let's send this out into the world to touch the heart of all beings. In the wish that seeds of joy are planted in every heart. In the hope that eventually this will turn into peace in this world.